I'm Elisa, the Scrappy Wife behind scrappywife.com, and today I have a memory keeping process video for you. I am jumping back into a traveler's notebook for this fall. I'm not sure if this is going to cover a month or 2 months. We'll just kind of see how it goes, but it's been a while since I've worked in a traveler's notebook and just had the urge to get back into it. So that's what the plan is. I have these sweet pictures of my kiddos from a recent apple picking trip that we took, and I have some Felicity Jane supplies, mostly from the Tori kit, but I also picked out the stamps from the Amanda collection because they had a lot of like outdoor adventure and let's go somewhere, so I kind of thought that might be a nice little addition as well. So I will make sure to link everything down below. Otherwise, I will put you all on fast forward. Let's go. I feel like my poor scrapbooking supplies have felt so lonely because I have been all about planners this month and have been doing Happy Planner and all kinds of planning things. And so I haven't been scrapbooking as much, or at least not using my supplies as much. So it really did feel good to dive into them again. And I forgot just how much I love playing with beautiful paper. It is just so soothing. So what I'm doing here is I'm cutting off all of the branding strips. If you have not seen Felicity Jane before, they have this beautiful tradition of gorgeous branding strips. And I know some other designers do as well, but I always like to save the Felicity Jane branding strips because you can use them in a variety of ways. And what I'm wanting to do is to weave them in and out of each other. And I thought I could use just branding strips, but it turns out I wanted some more solid colored paper mixed in there just so that it would just add a little bit more consistency. So I have those two solid strips, and then I'm gonna do one more and it'll have a little bit of two colors in it, but that's okay. I can get that green. There we go. Now I have three solid colors, and I'm gonna start weaving the papers in and out of each other, and you'll see how it turns out. This weaving technique is such a great way to use up any of your scraps, not just branding strips, but maybe you just have a really large pile of scrap paper. You can create your own embellishments. Just cut them into these long strips, or as long as you can get, and start weaving them in and out of each other, make larger pages, and then you can cut them down to the size you're looking for. It's just a really fun way to use up some scrap paper that you might not have normally grabbed for, and I love how this one comes out. So I ended up trimming those in half because I thought I was going to do a long skinny weaving process, but I wanted it a little bit different, so added a little bit more of the solid color in there. And I'm just adding adhesive every now and then at the beginning and end of each weave, if that makes sense. So some of them start under, some of them start over. It's just a pattern and not very much adhesive. So cutting it off right here, just trying to make sure it's as straight as possible. And now I have my little basket weave. It looks funny right now, but it's gonna turn out cool in a second, I promise. Okay, you can see that I'm working on the intro page for this traveler's notebook because I don't want to leave it blank. And what I'm going to do is this is going to end up turning into one of those woven wall hangings. Think of with the wool and the knots, and I can't think of the right word. It's going to drive me crazy. But I'm going to trim it out. You can see I'm just going to add some waves in here at the bottom so it's a little bit uneven. And then what I do is just cut some fringe here to mimic that look that I'm going for of the wall hanging. And then I'll add a little bit more detail in a moment with some acrylic paint pens that are amazing. I got them from By the Will for God, and they are the Archer and Olive pens, and I'm officially obsessed with them. I'm gonna have to do a whole separate video talking about these pens because they are just that gorgeous. But you can see what I'm doing here is turning it into this kind of tapestry look, and I just thought it was just a fun embellishment to add to my page, but it was feeling a little stark. So now I've pulled out another stamp set. This is actually the Megan stamp set. Has these gorgeous butterflies and some iced spruce Distress Oxide ink just to pull in that green a little bit, and I'm adding 3 butterflies, 2 of which are going off the page, which I always like to do. And that is just going to provide a little place for my embellishments to nest. So I'll add on my little wall hanging right here. If you know the name of that, will you please leave it below? Because man, that is going to drive me crazy that I can't think of what that is. I've pulled out a few other die cuts. These are not from the Tori kit. That girl die cut that I'm adding is the Amanda girl from earlier this summer, and then I love that Life die cut. I'm adding one of these acrylic pens. I end up going with the pink. I'm going to use my ruler to add that little wall hanging right there. So you can see adding the triangle, and then I'll outline. It doesn't show up well on camera, but I love how it turns out in person. It's just really cool. Just thickening up the line a little bit so you can see it a little bit clearer. It goes over the butterfly. This acrylic pen is just so awesome for adding details. I cannot wait to collect the rest of the colors. Those will be in my cart as soon as we get another paycheck, I think. They are just so fun to work with. All right, almost done with this page. Just going to add this last die cut, and then I'm going to leave it because I think the simplicity of it lets you really pay attention to that woven embellishment. Now, let's start working on entries. So this is 3 pictures of my kiddos, like I said, from an apple picking trip. And I just love these colors that came in the Tori kit. It's this weird mix of fall and summer, like those light pinks are very summery, but then you have the mustard that's a very fall color. So it's great for this time of year because of course we're all wishing it were fall, but at least where I am, it hasn't totally changed temperature wise. So we're just, you know, having fall vibes, but not totally there yet. I'm going to frame out the picture of the 3 of them with this mustard yellow scallop that I am loving. And then I'll actually end up using that on the other page. I wasn't planning on doing it until I decided to mat this one, and then I just fell in love with the color. I just think it's so gorgeous. I want to have kind of a vertical line going on over here. So what I end up doing is tearing this paper. Tearing paper is one of my favorites. You guys know this from watching my channel recently. I'm just loving tearing paper. So I'm going to tear it on both sides and create like a column that's going to go down this page and serve as kind of a mat for these pictures, just something that anchors them onto that page. You know, I didn't realize how much I missed working in my traveler's notebook until I pulled this one out. I was kind of struggling with how I wanted to document the fall. I'm wanting to take on a bigger documenting project, but I feel weird starting it in the latter part of the year, if that makes sense. So I'm kind of making plans for starting it in January, which sounds like a really long way off, but parts of 2020 have flown by. Parts have not, parts have taken forever, but I'm sure January will be here before I know it, and so I'm going to try some new documenting then. But I thought traveler's notebooks are a great way to be able to pick and choose some stories that you just want to record. It's not an every week thing, it's not an everyday thing, but it's a way to record stories and to play with the supplies, and I have always loved it. So I decided to go ahead and come back to it for the fall, and then we'll see what the new year brings. I am slightly out of practice with layering on this scale. So I'm just going through some of the pieces in the Tori kit. I love the florals. They really pull in that pop of coral, which is nice, and it actually matches pretty well with my daughter's shirt, which if you watch my scrapping videos, I am not great at matching with my pictures. In fact, I rarely do it because it just feels like an extra step that's not totally necessary, but that happened to really match nicely with her shirt. So I decided to go ahead and bring it out in that case. And then I'm just layering some different embellishments. I was trying not to overdo it, which is my tendency because I love all of the embellishments and I've been waiting to play with these, and so I kind of just wanted to use all of the things, but I held back and just used a few here and there, and I like how it turned out. Now, I had a few issues with my tape gun. Some of these are smaller and I probably should have pulled out my Xyron sticker maker, but that's okay. You can see that one got a little bit off. Now it's time to start stamping, and stamping got real crazy real fast. I don't know I don't know, I was in a stamping mood, and I don't usually stamp a lot in my traveler's notebook, but I wanted to stamp the date on this little tag. It didn't come out perfectly clear, but that's fine. Just stamping the date that we went strawberry picking, apple picking, and adding that in. And then I had pulled out the stamp set from the summer. I believe this is the Amanda stamp set. Yes. And it had a lot of kind of travel, outdoors, family times, just great phrases, a lot of phrases. And so I start out thinking, well, I'm just going to add a phrase or two, and that would have been fine. And I like how it turned out anyway. Like, I could have just stopped there and that would have been lovely. But I kept going because, hey, if I'm going to pull out the stamps, I'm going to use all of the stamps, and you'll see that I just pick out any phrase that I find that works. And what I end up doing is kind of making a diagonal with them. So I'm building to the upper left and to the lower right, and I will add on, and I try to kind of switch it up to where the fonts balance each other out. So the one issue I had was this one, and you'll see when I put it down that the two fonts are really similar on these two stamps. And so it was at this point that I was like, okay, I really need to check that out. See how the family time matches Let's Go Somewhere? So that's when I was like, okay, I need to plan a little bit better. So I need to pull a heavier font down here because Fresh Air felt a little bit heavy. So Outdoor Adventure, outdoor will be pretty heavy. And then I kind of switch it up so that it feels a little bit more balanced. I like all of these phrases. I think it kind of tells the story. It's kind of like journaling without doing the journaling, because those are, you know, all the things we were feeling that day. We have gone almost nowhere during this quarantine, so the whole let's go somewhere was for real. It was like, let's go somewhere and see how we do. And we did masks and we were safe, and it was really exciting. My kids loved finally getting out of the house and doing stuff. And then, you know, family time and outdoor adventure is always great for you. Fresh air, and the air just smells different when you're out in the country more. It was wonderful. So I just have fun playing with the different phrases, and I'll continue all the way to the bottom, sunny days, and then I add another stamp up top, and it doesn't go all the way to the left, and it's gonna drive me crazy. So what I end up having to do is come up with a way to fill up the space at the top left. So one more stamp, here we go, putting it right there. And now I have some space. So much to see, very true. Let me find one more stamp. I told you I'm going to use it escalated quickly with the stamps for sure. I need a heavier one to balance sunny days. So here we go, adding that one, photos. And now I have that space, and there are no more stamps that will fit right there, or that will go right there. So you can see I'm like, oh man, what am I going to do? So I look, can I put a die cut? That looks a little odd because it has color, and I didn't really want to bring in color. Same thing with that. So I go into my stash and I find one that says beautiful, and I will end up adding that small die cut just to fill in that space and even out that layout. And that's it for these entries. Thank you so much for joining me today. It felt great to jump back into a traveler's notebook. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider hitting that subscribe button as well as the bell notification button. I will link the supplies down below, but like I said, most of them came from Felicity Jane. I hope that you have a fabulous day, and as always, keep it creative.